First, once we begin again, don't run. Okay, so the actions reveal. Yes, we have a parallel terminology from Gabriel Marcel. Namely, yes, the mystery reveals. A revealing of oneself in one's actions. Well, if you go into the gospel, you find the best explanation given by Jesus himself. Yes. What is that explanation? Yes. From the fruit you shall know the, very pathetic, from the fruit you shall know the tree. In other words, if you take it into what we had been talking about, well, actions reveal the person. Yeah, it's very important. Actions reveal the person. There is a revelation taking place. In other words, the person as a mystery reveals himself or herself through his or her actions. If there is a crisis in the world today, it is precisely here. Yes, persons do not reveal themselves through their actions. We are not able to judge and evaluate a person from his behavior, from his actions. So this is something very, very important, and is the heart core of the issue. So the acting person towards an integral vision of man. So some preliminary remarks and introduction. In this part of our study, we try to approach man from the point of view of acting person. So in this part of our study, we look at man from his point of view of acting. Please don't get confused. When we say acting, yes, it's not as acting in a drama or things like that. But then, yes, the revealing the actions. This, before we begin, well, I need also to introduce a book. Again, it's photocopy of mine. Clear? Yes, The Acting Person Towards an Integral View. The Acting Person, written by Karol Wojtyła. Who is this person? Pope John Paul II, and now later, yes, Saint John Paul II. Clear? So the acting person. This is a phenomenological research into the human actions and then anthropology. So it's a book, nice book. We have it in the library. And the acting person, some of the important ideas, well, you get it in this book. And particularly you go through the first part of it, the meaning of experience, the experience of man. The meaning of experience is something very important. Yes, we have our experience, or the experience, well, in the second year itself, you studied the cognitive faculties. Experience is a source of knowledge. Experience is twofold, namely external and internal. External, you get experience, the primary elements, through a process of knowing through the five senses, and all that is the cognitive factors. And then is the richest and apparently the most complex of all experience accessible to man. Man's experience of anything outside of himself is always associated with the experience of himself. Yes, before ever you experience something from outside, well, you experience yourself. There's a twofold. Or you identify yourself. Or Karl Marx point, you see, through your actions, man as a worker, you realize yourself and you humanize the nature. Well, idea is similar but put it in a different way. So he is beautiful, a beautiful book. The introductory part is very important for you. Kindly go through. So, approach of man from the point of view of acting person. From the time of Descartes onwards, traditional philosophy had been busy inquiring man and his nature from an epistemological point of view. Epistemological point of view. Two approaches to the study of man. We have seen already in the first part. Well, one is objectivistic approach. We said, well, it's all coming here. I don't have to repeat all those things because from the first year onwards you study theory of knowledge, and in the second year it comes to its climax. Therefore, the epistemological approach, particularly Descartes, traditional philosophy has been busy inquiring man and his nature from an epistemological point of view. Knowledge of man and his world has been identified with cognitive function. Cognitive function. Yes. There comes the question, what do I know? All these are part of it. What do I know? Then, so conditions of the possibility of knowledge. Conditions of the possibility of knowledge. All these things. So, the epistemological approach is a cognitive function. Knowledge of man and his world has been identified with the cognitive function. This being the case, the approach was characterized by subject-object dichotomy. Subject-object dichotomy. In the beginning of the introductory course to anthropology, we said different approaches, clear, two approaches, namely the objectivistic approach, and then the other one is a who am I, a kind of revealing of oneself. In the first part I have already given, I don't have to repeat it again here. This being the case, the approach was characterized by subject-object dichotomy. Man was considered as an object to be analyzed and studied. Again, a kind of recap. Man was studied as an object to be studied, analyzed and arrived at. So that is an cognitive function, is an epistemological approach. Clear? Slowly we are bidding farewell to epistemological approach, and that is what you also hear when the history of contemporary Western philosophy is being taught. With Hegel, the modern concept of rationality comes to its end. Yes, the history of Western philosophy professor was very gloriously talking about it. Clear? When you go through your own video recording, you will find in that. Clear? First part is that. So the cognitive approach is giving way. Man was considered as an object to be analyzed and studied. But the relevant question is, thus man fully himself through knowing. Yes, you come to know the person by knowing him. Okay. Our argument is that a mode of adequate and relevant approach would be to examine the acting person. The acting person. So we approach it from the perspective of acting person. Acting person. Now, this is only an introduction. We say, yes, the modern philosophy had its approach, an epistemological one, which was a cognitive one. What do I know? conditions of the possibility, subject-object dichotomy. Person was also studied from the point of view of an object. All that is only an introduction. Now, we are going to reverse this model. We are going to change this model. That is what we are going to do in the study of man. Acting person becomes important. Clear? We concentrate on the person. Yes. Reversing the classical approach, we would affirm that man reveals himself. Yes, reversing the classical approach, modern trend, we are going to approach man from a different perspective. What is that perspective? Yes, man reveals himself. It's a very important concept. You may not understand it now because you are youngsters. Clear? After some time, when you are in your 40s and 50s, you no longer talk about your jokes. You search for your identity. Yeah, the worth of the person. You search for it. Meaning. These words are not very relevant today. Means, as you are in your 20s, let me be very frank. Clear? Yes, yes. But then, what becomes very attractive now will become, yes, you see Francis, our CC, what did he say? Yes, he was in search of pomp, place, prominence and all. Once he reversed his attitude, well, a reverse question came into his life, which is easier, to serve the master or the servant. Yes, he gave the answer. What is the servant, no? Master, then the voice said, go back, go back. And he went back. And then a reverse attitude was taking place. Well, a reverse attitude. Slowly he began to fix his eyes on what was considered to be irrelevant. And what was irrelevant became meaningful for him. And so, little things, it is something like Arundhati Roy says, God of small things or little things. Little things became important for him. Why? It is in and through these little things that he understood that God reveals to him. And it is in and through these little things he understood that his identity is being revealed. Which is something very important. Clear? So, man reveals himself. Therefore, actions become something very important, and it is in and through that he reveals himself. So, in other words, reversing the classical approach, we would affirm that man reveals himself in the actual enacting of his existence. The actual enacting of his existence. So, in other words, yes, space and time and all, we studied in Kant. Yes, space and time are very important because you reveal yourself through your actions in, not out of the way, in space and time. That is why sometimes in life we become very sorry for some behavior patterns of our own, because we should not have behaved that way we feel. That's the point. Clear? Okay. Man is better understood when he has to take an active stand. Man is better understood when he has to take an active stand that is manifested in its actions. Look at that sentence once again. Man is better understood when he has to take an active stand that is manifested in its actions on issues which need a vital decision. Active stand that is manifested in its actions on issues which need a vital decision. Well, so many examples we can take. Well, sometimes the Supreme Court decisions on certain cases, well, people call into question why, but that doesn't reflect the true spirit. So, those things are very important. For us, the nature of the specifically human being is clarified and expressed insofar as he is capable of personal action. Man is capable of personal action. Man is capable of personal action. What does it mean? Comma, that is, what is personal action? Means man is capable of interaction with other person. So human action means this. Capable of interaction. Interaction with other persons. Not only that, that's only one aspect, clear. So, interaction with another person, comma, establishing a life world. A life world. So through our actions, we interact with others. Not only we interact, we also establish a life world. What do you mean by establish a life world? Yeah, you will understand, historicizing human actions. Gandhi's specs, we say. Gandhi's philosophy, we say. Why? Yes, he has simply, through his interaction with others, set in a model, established a life world. And that life world we call a non-violent life world. Yeah, India secured freedom not with weapons and arms and ammunition fighting, but rather, yes, his principle of non-violence. So he established a life world. Very important. So human actions. That's why whenever we talk about Mahatma Gandhi, we talk about, yes, peace, non-violence. You don't say, take AK-47 and fight. No, that is not part of the life world propounded or established by the interaction of Mahatma Gandhi. So, you see now, we are slowly talking about acting person reveals himself means what? It's not simply acting in a drama, again and again I say, but rather, yes, you reveal a life world to others. Is something very, 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 very important. Interaction with another person, establishing a life world, both communal and social. Both and social. Communal means communal, right? No. With the community and society. Community is formed, society greater at a larger level, community is formed. Okay, persons are there experiencing the persons, okay. Establishing a life world, both communal and social. Communal means it's not communal violence, separating and all. It means community and society. Community is smaller and society is larger. So that's the thing. Yes, everything begins in a society as a, yes, simply begins maybe with two people. You just look at the teachings of Jesus. First only there were 12. And then, yes, that was a community of disciples. And then Buddha, for example, clear. And then later they were told, go and proclaim. And then they went into the world. And larger community, society was formed. Okay, that's only for an explanation. Interaction with another person, establishing a life world, both communal and social. The action serves. The action serves, yes. Slowly we are moving into another idea. A particular moment of apprehending. The action serves a particular moment of apprehending or experiencing the person. Experiencing the person. Apprehending means comprehending, understanding. Clear? Yeah. Experiencing the person. In other words, a moment of action, yes, reveals the person. And we get an experience of the person. You just imagine the disciples to Emmaus, they were going. Clear? As they were going on talking. And then he goes along with them. And he is asking them, what are you talking about? What was the response? You know it, clear, no? But then, as he was on the way with them, talking, they were also getting more and more convinced. They were made convinced of certain points. And at a juncture, he was about to part with them. Then they said, come, let us dine together, eat together. And then he took the bread, blessed and gave them, and he had disappeared. And then they were telling, they were getting illumined, or there was more insights in their life. So in other words, actions, in a way, through the actions, we experience the person. We come to know, not know means it is an epistemological understanding, but then we experience the person. Okay. To put it in simple words, you can write this. To put it in simple words, action reveals the person, underline. Yes, coming. Our disciples are coming. Actions reveal the person. Action reveals a person, comma, and we look at the person, through his action. We look at the person through his actions. Action gives us the specific moment, underline, action gives us the specific moment and the best insight into the essence of the person. Look at that sentence. Action gives us the specific moment and the best insight into the essence of the person and allows us to understand the person most fully, and allows us to understand the person most fully. In other words, through the actions of a person, we come to know the person. And you will understand when you study ethics and also. Primarily when we are judging a person, we are not judging the person, but we are judging the actions of the person. And we say, no, you should not have done that. That was not a fitting response at that moment. So indirectly only we judge the person, but directly we judge the action of the person. To put it in the words of Karol Wojtyla, K-R-O-L, Karol Wojtyla, W-O-J-T-Y-L-A, a Polish man, clear, is John Paul II. To put it in the words of Karol Wojtyla, W-O-J-T-Y-L-A, inverted comma, we experience man as the person, we experience the man as the person, and we are convinced of it, because he performs actions, P-E-R-F-O-R-M-S, performs actions, full stop, close the inverted comma. So we experience man as the person, and we are convinced of it because he performs actions. Yes, there is a lot of presupposition also. Man, yes, who is a man? Yes, a man who is capable of thinking and all that. It's all what your modern philosophy is there behind. So perhaps that is a kind of introduction. And then next paragraph, the experience of man which he has of himself. Yes, that is the other dimension. The experience of man which he has of himself. Yes, we need to experience somebody. Well, that person first of all should experience himself as a person. The experience of man he has of himself. He has of himself is, in inverted comma, the richest and apparently the most complex, the richest and apparently the most complex of all experience accessible to him. Very important. The experience of himself is all important, and then only you can experience others. So in other words, yes, the experience of man which he has of himself is the richest and apparently the most complex of all experience accessible to man, accessible to him. Full stop. Man's experience of anything outside of himself, man's experience of anything outside of himself is always associated with, is always associated with the experience of himself, and he never experiences anything external without having at the same time the experience of himself. Without having at the same time the experience of himself. So in other words, well, you have a twofold experience. I as a person experience others, other people and their actions, and then they are complementing. But then in order to understand others and their actions, but first of all I must understand myself and my actions. There is also a little bit of psychology. Here comes Husserl's phenomenology too. So in other words, there is a mutual rapport, and I must experience myself and my actions. That will help me to experience the other and his experience. So in other words, the basic presupposition in experiencing the other is experiencing oneself. Yes. Well, St. Augustine has a famous statement. What is that? No one can give what he doesn't have. No one can give what he doesn't have. In other words, he has to experience somebody else, their actions. We need to experience ourselves. So we'll continue the rest in the next class.